Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I made this beautiful handbag. It is a zipper. It's going to be quite a long process, but it's actually very simple. So let's get straight into the DIY. So you'll need an A4 page which you fold into half like that. Then you go on the corners with the open edges, and then you mark 3 inches by 3 inches, and then you draw a curved line. You don't need to use a curved ruler, you can also just use your free hand. Then you now take a small plate or saucer, and then you go in the middle, and then you make sure that it's centered, and then you draw a semicircle. Then you now use that pattern to cut your interfacing. I used the heavy interfacing, but if you have the thin interfacing, it will also work. So I cut 2 of these. These are for 2 sides of the bag. Then I now cut away that little portion. Then I measured the width which was remaining, and then the circumference of the semicircle. Then I added a few extra inches, so I got 5.5 inches by 30 inches. Then I cut 2 pieces of fabric. So on top of my interfacing, before I started pinning down my fabric, I also used that little piece of paper to draw a semicircle on my interfacing. This is to guide me when I pin down the fabric. Then I now started to pleat and pin down the fabric, following that line that I drawn with the pencil, and I just put pins as I went along. I did this for both pieces of interfacing. After pinning down the fabric, I now took it onto my ironing mat, and then I just lightly pressed the fabric down, making sure that I was not ironing on top of the pins. So if you have office pins work great for this because you can iron over them. So this is just to make sure that the pleats don't move about. Then I trimmed the fabric to the interfacing. Then I now took that small semicircle again, and then I used it to cut my interfacing. I cut 2 pieces of this. Then I also cut 2 pieces of my solid color fabric. Then I went on to iron on the interfacing. And when I iron it, I cut the edges and folded them over and ironed the edges as well. I did this for both pieces. Then I now took that little piece of semicircle fabric and I placed it on top of the bigger semicircle, and then I pinned it down. Then I went on to stitch this on the sewing machine. So this is for the zipper. These are the 2 little fabrics that I attached the zipper on. They were 3 inches by 12 inches. And then I folded the edges about 1/2 inch inside and ironed. Then I went on to my sewing machine where I attached the zip on the ironed edge. This is going to form the top part of the bag with the zipper. Then I also prepared my handles. My handles were 3 inches by 20 inches and I ironed on some interfacing onto them. Then I folded the edges inside 2 times and ironed. I did this for both handles. Then I stitched down the handles on the open edges. Then I now took all my pieces, the side pieces, the top part with the zipper and the handles, and then I joined everything together. I also attached the handles. Then I went on to sew this on the sewing machine. After sewing, I also top stitched. So the fabric piece which makes the bottom and the sides of the bag was 4 inches by 32 inches. Then I started to attach it, just pinning it onto the sides of the bag like that. Then I sewed that on the sewing machine. So before I turned the bag inside out, I made the lining just by cutting all the same sizes of the fabric that I had cut for the outer parts of the bag, and then I joined them together. Then I sewed them together. Then I now took that lining and then I put it and then I make sure that I align the folded and ironed edges with the edges of the zip. Then I pin it down. After attaching and sewing the lining on, I now turned the bag inside out, and that was the end result. It's a very pretty bag. It just takes a lot of time, but I think it was worth it in the end. Thank you so much for watching this video, you guys. Don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe. Bye.